Introduction: Psychology's 180-degree revolution. Assume the consciousness of being the one you want to be, and you will be saved from your present state. Neville Goddard. On the evening of October 4th, 2015, instead of studying for his 11th grade history test, 17-year-old Jimmy Donaldson filmed 4 YouTube videos. While Jimmy had been actively creating YouTube videos for over 3 years, these recordings were different. Rather than doing commentaries on video games or discussing the lives and incomes of famous YouTubers as he normally did, Jimmy invited his audience to sit in on the intimate and vulnerable conversations he had with himself. In the first segment, Jimmy spoke to his future self 6 months into the future. In the second video, he talked to his future self 12 months into the future. In the third recording, he addressed his future self 5 years into the future. And in the fourth, he spoke to his future self 10 years into the future. Each video lasted around 2 minutes, nothing crazy. But in those pivotal moments, Jimmy was completely raw and honest about what he wanted and what he expected of his future self. Rather than publishing these videos immediately, as he normally would, he scheduled each clip to publish in the future, exactly 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, and 10 years respectively from October 4th, 2015. 6 months later, on April 4th, 2016, the first video went live on Jimmy's YouTube channel. The video began with Jimmy showing his computer screen and highlighting the current stats of his YouTube channel. At the time I'm filming this video, I have 8,000 subscribers and 1.8 million views. So whenever you see this, compare these numbers to whatever I have when you watch this. He then has a conversation with his future self. What would I want to say to me in 6 months? Hopefully you're still uploading daily. Hopefully you have at least 15,000 subscribers, future me. That would be embarrassing if I don't. Then you guys, speaking to his audience, would be like, yeah. As of now, I'm still enjoying YouTube. Hopefully future me still enjoys it. It would be crazy if I had some ridiculous amount of subscribers, like 20,000 or something, in 6 months. Not only did Jimmy achieve his 6-month goal, but by the time his 12-month Future Me video released on October 4th, 2016, Jimmy had increased his subscribers tenfold since his 6-month Future Me video went live. He now had over 200,000 subscribers. He consistently made videos viewed by millions. His videos grew bolder and more innovative. He fully embraced the brand of his alter ego, Mr. Beast. The creation of his Future Me videos became a turning point in Jimmy's life. These candid conversations marked a crucial inflection point when Jimmy got courageous toward his dreams. Within a few years, he made hundreds of millions of dollars as the fastest rising internet sensation ever. Mr. Beast's psychology and commitment shifted that night. He skipped his history test to go public about his future self. You can actually see a clear distinction from Jimmy's videos pre and post October 2015. He filmed himself less often behind the screen playing video games and more often in front of the camera. He pumped the Mr. Beast concept and brand and recruited friends who became common features in his videos to support the Mr. Beast ideology. On June 1st, 2016, his first video went super viral, garnering more than 20 million views. He and his friends were shown commenting on the best YouTube introductions. The episode had more visual effects, and Mr. Beast himself had more confidence and swagger. Days later, he introduced his growing style of doing either interesting stunts or ridiculous feats. He bought an outdoor picnic table and cut the whole thing in half using only plastic butter knives. He spent more than $60 to purchase thousands of plastic knives to accomplish the task that took dozens of hours to do. That video received more than 3 million views. On August 23rd, 2016, Mr. Beast garnered 2 million views of his friend wrapping him in 100 rolls of saran wrap. On October 16th, 2016, he published a skit of himself pretending that every online ad he read immediately became real. Win a free iPad became a new iPad that all of a sudden appeared on his doorstep. Have your laptop run 100 times faster instantly produced a new laptop in his lap. Following a running commentary with jokes, the adventure ended when he and his friends destroyed the computers used in the video. That video got Mr. Beast another 9 million views. On January 8th, 2017, Mr. Beast live-streamed himself counting to 100,000. The feat took almost 40 hours and resulted in over 20 million views. A month later, he counted to 200,000, and then to 300,000. In August of 2017, he filmed himself saying Logan Paul 100,000 times. As his stunts became more ridiculous and absurd, Jimmy evolved into his desired future self. His experimentation became bolder. He developed donation videos as a staple of his growing brand. On June 15th, 2017, he published a video of himself giving $10,000 to a homeless man. Later, he gave $1,000 to 10 different homeless people. On August 15th, 2017, he filmed himself donating $10,000 to random Twitch streamers, people who play video games publicly on the internet. His donation videos highlighted the hysterical reactions of the people who received large amounts of money unexpectedly. On August 23rd, 2017, Jimmy published a video of himself tipping pizza delivery guys $10,000 and laughing at their overwhelm. He hugged an older man who spoke through his tears about how much the money would impact he and his wife. On August 30th, 2017, Jimmy tipped Uber drivers $10,000. In addition to donating larger and larger sums of money, which he originally got from various sponsors of his videos, Mr. Beast performed bigger stunts and games where people could win greater sums of money. He tested how many balloons were needed to lift him off the ground, drove more than 100 hours to purchase a Snickers bar from every Walmart in his state, bought a car with only pennies, and gave 3 million pennies to the person who became his 3 millionth subscriber. By October 4th, 2020, when his third Future Me video aired, Mr. Beast had become the fastest rising YouTuber on the internet. He had more than 40 million subscribers. He'd become a household name. He operated a business with a team of more than 30 people and an annual revenue in excess of $100 million. His videos averaged 30 million views, some with hundreds of millions of views. A little more contemplative than his 6 and 12-month videos, Jimmy's Hi Me in 5 Years recording showed a 17-year-old Jimmy connected with a much different and bigger future self. Right now, I'm in high school. When you see this, I will be in, I'm not even going to be in college. This is going to be after college. Wow, dude, this is going to be crazy. The wheels in his head seem to spin. It's 2015 for me right now. Dude, what if I'm dead? The thought visibly terrifies him. He covers his mouth as if to stop the words. His eyes widen. Looking frightened, he continues, "Oh, that would be weird. That would be so weird. RIP, rest in peace. Dude, that would be really weird." After contemplating the potential that he could be dead when this video goes live on his YouTube channel, he grows serious about his future self. If I don't have 1 million subscribers when you see this video, my entire life has been a failure. I hope I have 1 million subs. I better have 1 million subs. His conviction heightens. Then, the weight of realizing his dream overwhelms him. Jimmy sits back in his chair, caught up in his thinking. He lets out an outward breath that flitters his hair. Dude, that would be... He can't even finish his own sentence. He shakes his head and closes his eyes, contemplating desperately and deeply what he wants. He shakes his head and gazes at his bedroom ceiling. He connects so deeply with his desired future self that he forgets he's filming. After a few moments of imagination, he continues his conversation with his camera. I don't even know what college I'm going to, but by the time you watch this video, I'll have finished high school, gone to college, probably be doing YouTube as a job, hopefully, maybe. He bites his hand while voicing his dream. Dude, I really hope I have 1 million subs by now. Please, future me, please. What am I doing with my hand? He finishes his video by proclaiming one more time, I better have 1 million subscribers when this goes public. At the writing of this book, December of 2021, it's been a little over a year since Mr. Beast's Hi Me in 5 Years video went live. Jimmy has more than 82 million subscribers. His stunts get bolder. Not only did Jimmy become his desired future self, he shattered his vision again and again. From an outside perspective, Jimmy's transformation over the past 6 years is almost unbelievable. He went from a 17-year-old kid with zero money making videos in his bedroom to being one of the most famous people in the world. Extremely wealthy and business savvy, he aspires to one day become the President of the United States. Do methodologies exist that you and I can follow to create similar results in our own lives? The exciting answer is absolutely yes. Recent research in psychology provides an extremely simple explanation for Mr. Beast's amazing transformation. You can apply the process for desired results and change your own life. This audiobook will show you exactly how. A shift in the science. Much of the history of psychology has been dominated by a framework in which people and animals are driven by the past. Martin Seligman. From the late 1800s to the late 1900s, the field of psychology focused on human problems. Referred to as pathology, the theories and therapies centered on alleviating problems including depression and suicide. The concept of human flourishing received little emphasis. During this period, science suggested that human beings are the direct byproduct of their own past. This view is known as determinism, the idea that human behavior is simply one domino toppled by the dominoes that came before. The dominoes of past events dictate who you are and what you're doing now. There is no human agency or freedom, simply stimulus and response. In other words, according to determinism, your life today is the secondary synthesis of your past. Although the dominant view, determinism was extremely limiting and negative. If a person had a lot of problems, those problems could only be explained by their past. And sadly, the main objective of psychology was simply to explain the problems, not solve them. In the 1990s, a group of revolutionary psychologists, who dubbed themselves positive psychologists, questioned these central dogmas of psychology. They asked different questions and ran different types of experiments trying to better understand what led someone to be happy, healthy, and successful. This research, along with breakthroughs in technology and neuroscience, produced a different picture about what makes a person who they are. In fact, modern research provides a near opposite explanation from previously held beliefs. Research now shows that a person's past does not drive or dictate their actions and behaviors. Rather, we are pulled forward by our future. As human beings, we have a unique characteristic held by no other species on the planet. People have the ability not only to think about our own future, but to have countless potential scenarios for our future. Additionally, humans are able to contemplate deeply on our potential prospects. For example, you may have lots of potential options before you, such as taking a certain job or staying where you are, moving to a different country, or remaining local. We have hundreds of potential futures we could fulfill and countless decisions we could make for our lives. We think about these options and eventually make a decision about which direction we'll go. Psychologists call this unique human ability prospection. As people, everything we do is driven by our prospects for the future. Prospection is based on a teleological view of the world, which views all human action and behavior as driven by goals, whether short-term or long-term. From this view, every human action has a purpose. Another word for purpose is goal. Every human action is goal-driven, even if the goal of the behavior isn't consciously considered by the individual. Take, for example, walking to the refrigerator to get food. That behavior is driven by the goal of satisfying hunger, a distraction, or indulgence. Whatever the goal, that purpose is the driver behind walking to the fridge. Going to school is another example. People go to school for a reason. Each individual student will have different goals for attending. One student may be trying to qualify for college. Another student may be there because their parents forced them and they don't want to get in trouble. Despite having very different internal reasons for being in class, both students are there to satisfy an end. While the student's purpose may not be conscious or inspiring, their reason still exists. Even if the goal is simply immediate gratification or escape, then doing harmful drugs or wasting away on social media are actions driven by reasons. Some questions you could ask yourself are, what is the reason or goal for this activity? What benefit am I getting from this? Where is this activity taking me? There are 3 levels to understanding a particular event or action. 1, the what. 2, the how. 3, the why. Level 1 is the ability to explain what happened. In this case, you could say, he went to school. That's the what. Level 2 is the ability to explain how the behavior happened. In this case, you could say, he got a ride to school. Level 3 is being able to explain why the behavior happened. There is always a why for everything someone does. That why is their reason or goal for what they're doing. Knowing the why is the deepest and most powerful form of knowledge because the why is always the driver of the what and how. When you understand why the stock market goes up and down, making informed decisions about investing becomes easier. When you understand why someone does what they do, their actions and behaviors make a lot more sense. There is always a why or goal behind human behavior. There's a purpose or reason for all human activity. The more conscious and clear you are about choosing your purpose and goals, the how begins to take care of itself. Your behavior follows your purpose and goals. Without conscious purpose, the how becomes conflicted and chaotic. All goals or motivations fit within two categories: approach or avoid. The reason for doing anything is either to approach something you want to happen or to avoid something you don't want to happen. As a rule, 80% of people are primarily driven by fear or avoidance, while 20% of people are driven by approach and courage. As Dr. David Hawkins explains, the advertising industry plays off our fears to sell us products. Grief has to do with the past, but fear, as we ordinarily experience it, is of the future. Fear is emotionally experienced in everyday life by the average person as worry, anxiety, or panic. Fear is a shrinkingness and a fear of the future. Approach motivations and avoid motivations are both goals. For instance, going to work because you don't want to lose your house is an avoidance-driven goal. Going to work to get a promotion is more approach-motivated. Your reason or goal, whether positive or negative, approach or avoidance-motivated, is the driver of your thoughts, energy, and actions. In all instances, humans act as we do based on the future we see for ourselves. That future may be one we're trying to avoid, or a future we're trying to create. That future may be decades or seconds away. In addition to being driven primarily by fear, the average person is mostly driven by short-term goals, such as distracting themselves with social media instead of working, getting to the end of the workday, getting to the weekend, or paying the bills. Said rapper and business mogul 50 Cent and author Robert Greene in The 50th Law. By our nature, as rational, conscious creatures, we cannot help but think of the future. But most people, out of fear, limit their view of the future to a narrow range. Thoughts of tomorrow, a few weeks ahead, perhaps a vague plan for the months to come. We are generally dealing with so many immediate battles that it is hard for us to lift our gaze above the moment. It is a law of power, however, that the further and deeper we contemplate the future, the greater our capacity to shape it to our desires. Being driven by fear is a lower state of consciousness than being driven by courage and vision. Deep emotional development is required to transition beyond fear as your driver to levels of acceptance, courage, and love as reasons for action. In addition to fear being a core emotional driver of human action, some psychologists believe that human beings have not evolved to effectively think years or decades into the future. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors weren't planning for retirement by age 65. Instead, they were strategizing for their next meal or trying to avoid being eaten. As further proof that people struggle to think ahead, consider that the median age an American starts planning for retirement is 27. And with almost 4 decades to accomplish their goal, the median retirement savings totals $107,000. As great as this number sounds to a 27-year-old, that's only $310 of monthly income after retirement. Whoops. Speaking of age 65, another reason people likely struggle contemplating and strategizing for a long-term future is that the average life expectancy has nearly doubled over the past 150 years. In 1860, the average life expectancy in America was 39 years old. 80 years is a long time to look ahead and plan for. We have a lot of things working against us when it comes to living effectively. Shifting our goals from fear-based, reactive, and short-term to proactive, long-term, and love-based is the path to a successful and happy life. Your view of your future self is the compass that draws you forward. This takes us to the growing body of research on the subjects of prospection, identity, and future self. Increasing numbers of psychologists are focusing their research on the importance of a person's view of their own future self. TED Talks by prominent psychologists are aimed at the critical importance of one's connection to and creation of their own future self. Consider the themes of the following TED Talks given in recent years. The psychology of your future self. The battle between your present and future self. Essential questions to ask your future self. A journey to your future self. Guidance from your future self. Saying hello to your future self. How can we help our future selves? Thinking forward for your future self. How to make our present self become our future self. Challenge your future self. How to step into your future self. As the science on prospection and future self continues to grow and become increasingly compelling, future self coaching and meditation programs are in development. Yet there has never been a definitive book written on the topic until now. Research among psychologists is on the cutting edge, and the science is still young. The science of future self will increase during the next 2 decades. This audiobook is here to catch you up on the latest science to this point. In this highly practical audiobook, you'll learn 1. The science of your future self. 2. How to connect with and create your desired future self. And 3. How to expand your future self far, far beyond your current imagination, just as Mr. Beast instinctively did. The quality of connection you have with your own future self determines the quality of your life and behaviors now. Research shows that the more connected you are to your own future self, the wiser decisions you make here and now. Contemplating your future self, you're more likely to invest in and set yourself up for an abundant retirement, exercise and eat healthier, and you're less likely to engage in delinquent or self-defeating acts. The future self concept is simple, yet rarely practiced. To make quality decisions, know where those decisions will take you. Decisions and actions are best when reverse engineered from a desired outcome. Start with what you want and work backward. Think and act from your goal rather than toward your goal. Your brain does this automatically. Indeed, neuroscientists now agree the brain is essentially a prediction machine guiding behavior toward the expected future. Learning is the process of updating and improving our brain's predictions. The clearer you are on where you want to go, the less distracted you'll be by endless options. When you're disconnected with your future self, you get caught up in urgent goals that often result in low-quality behavior in the present. For the majority, this is the norm. Many people are primarily driven by short-term goals, which are disconnected from the long-term repercussions of those decisions. This reality is depicted in a 2010 episode of The Simpsons, Money Bart, when Homer, an irresponsible father, is confronted with his responsibilities and shirks them with alcohol. His wife Marge tries to get Homer back on track. Someday, these kids will be out of the house, and you'll regret not spending more time with them. That's a problem for future Homer. He shakes his head. Man, I don't envy that guy. Homer pours vodka into a mayonnaise jar, drinks the contents, and collapses of an apparent heart attack. We laugh at Homer because we know that deep down, we are the same. We may not be choosing mayonnaise and vodka over our children, but we knowingly leave problems for our future selves all the time. In the 1990s, on The Late Show with David Letterman, the comedian Jerry Seinfeld discussed this common human plight. I saw an ad. I love this concept of no payments until June. People are like, oh yeah, it will never be June. They buy things and say to themselves, the guy in June, he'll have money somehow. And I do that with myself. Like late at night, I think, well, it's night, I'm having a good time, I don't want to go to sleep. I'm night guy. Getting up after 5 hours sleep? That's morning guy's problem. Let him worry about that. I'm night guy. I've got to party. Then you get up after 5 hours of sleep, you're cranky, you're exhausted. Night guy always screws morning guy. There's nothing morning guy can do to get back at night guy. The only thing morning guy could do is try to oversleep so many times that day guy loses his job and then night guy doesn't have any more money to go out. Letterman laughed and replied, you have done an excellent job of crystallizing the dichotomy of modern American life. Because we're disconnected from our future selves, we opt for near-immediate goals or dopamine hits. This short-term seeking ends up costing our future selves big. As Harvard psychologist and future self researcher Dr. Daniel Gilbert asked, why do we make decisions our future selves will regret? This brings up a counterintuitive but important truth. The more connected you are to your future self, the better you live in the present. It's not the past, but the future that drives a person's actions and behaviors. All goals can be placed in two categories: approach or avoidance. Connected to your future self, you can appreciate, embrace, and love the present. Connection to your future self creates purpose and meaning in the present. The more connected you are to your longer-term future self, the better and wiser your decisions today. Being connected to your future self makes you happy, productive, and successful. That's the crazy part. Connection to your future self elevates your present self and circumstances. You truly prize the invaluable goldmine that is your life right now. Your connection to your future self is how you live powerfully now. Be your future self now. Exhaustion hung over me like a cloud as I drove home from work. On any normal day, I'd come home and relax after a long day's work. But this particular day, I'd been writing this book and thinking about the research on future self. How could I use what I learned to be a better husband? How could I connect with my future self to be a better father to my 6 energetic kids who would be hungry for Dad's attention when I arrived? Truthfully, I'd become aware that more often than I'd like to admit, I wasn't as engaged with my family as I wanted to be. Once I reached my neighborhood, I pulled to the side of the road to truly contemplate who I wanted to be when I arrived home. I considered my own future self. 20 years from now, I'll be 53 years old. All 6 of my children will be adults and no longer living at home. Sitting in my parked car a few roads from my house, I asked myself, how would my future self feel, and what would they do if the 53-year-old me could come back and live my life for the rest of today? A quote from Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, came to my mind. Live as if you were living already for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you're about to act now. It seems to me that there is nothing which would stimulate a man's sense of responsibleness more than this maxim, which invites him to imagine first that the present is past, and second, that the past may yet be changed and amended. I decided to give Frankl's idea a try. I decided to live the rest of the day as if I were my future self 20 years into the future, and my future self had the opportunity to time travel back and relive the rest of today. When I pulled into my driveway, 3-year-old Phoebe was waiting outside. "Daddy!" She jumped around, excited to see me. Watching my beautiful and witty daughter, I knew my future self, 20 years from now, would give anything to experience this single moment. As my future self, I saw this moment very differently than I normally do. I was brought to tears by how much I loved her. I recognized her as a perfect gift sent from God. I jumped out of my car and hugged Phoebe like I hadn't seen her in 20 years. "Do you want me to chase you?" "Yeah," she took off giggling. Laughing, I chased her down the block. Scooping her in my arms, I hugged her close. How is this my life? How am I so lucky? Taking in the setting, I saw my neighborhood and street differently. I felt reverence for what I experienced. I grasped that I stood on holy ground. After playing blissfully with Phoebe for about 5 minutes, I snapped a selfie to always remember the time my future self came back and played with his little girl. This selfie is in the supplemental PDF. Phoebe and I went inside where the older kids argued with each other as energetic and normal kids do. In the kitchen, Lauren busily made dinner while helping baby Rex and Zora. On a regular day, I might immediately chide or correct my older kids. I might just zone out. But on this day, with my future self in mind, my family felt far more important than I normally see them. Rather than being frustrated by the clutter, I loved the toys scattered about the house. I loved the homeschool books and assignments strewn across the kitchen table. I loved seeing my kids playing with each other. My wife, Lauren, her beauty took my breath away. How the heck did I get this amazing life? Rather than feeling annoyed, I felt astonished by how much I loved the banter of my 10 to 14-year-old kids. To my future self, these 3 are in their 30s. What would my future self say if they could come back and just have 5 minutes. Rather than speaking, I'm confident my future self would want nothing more than to listen to, learn from, and affirm these incredible kids. I pulled the proverbial cotton balls out of my ears and I put them in my mouth. I listened, I engaged, I laughed, I loved, I connected. The seismic shift within felt elevated, evolved, and profound. Things that normally frustrated me seemed completely trivial. Totally in flow, I loved the things that often annoyed me. Not only did I feel present and engaged, but I acted with far greater kindness, perspective, and wisdom. My future self would handle this situation differently and better than current me. Tapping into my future self and living as my future self changed everything. Even deeper, I realized and fully appreciated that my future self might not be here in 20 years. I could be gone. Recently, a friend's 2-year-old died in a freak and horribly tragic accident because he accidentally got a cord to the window blinds wrapped around his neck. Memento mori is an ancient Stoic term for keeping death always on your mind to fully value and appreciate this moment. Sadly, I often miss the incredible moments all around me. Without a sense of purpose and mission, I fail to appreciate what's right in front of me. I fail to value the infinite worth of my current life simply because I'm disconnected. Viktor Frankl suggests we imagine this moment has passed, forced to deal with the negative consequences of not being more conscious of what we were doing. This is why the research on future self is so compelling. Being connected allows you to better comprehend and appreciate the goldmine of this moment right here. Seeing your current life through the eyes of your future self, you see opportunities you were previously blind to. If you stay connected with your future self, you'll value your present. What about you? If your future self, 20 years from now, had a conversation with you, what would they say? How would your future self view your current situation? How differently would you act with your future self in mind? The promise of this audiobook. In the chapters that follow, you're going to learn how to be your future self now. As your future self now, you can create the life you want. Mr. Beast's enormous success came as the result of his commitment toward his desired future self. His courage led to consistent, deliberate practice, which is the systematic way to develop expertise in anything. To do deliberate practice requires being deliberate toward a specific goal. Like Mr. Beast, have a clear view of your future self. Author and philosopher Dr. Stephen R. Covey said, "Mental creation always precedes physical creation. Anyone who has created something substantial did so by seeing it in their mind first, then working toward the image. As they took steps forward, their vision clarified, expanded, and evolved." Even the Bible describes, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Whoever you're being right now is the evidence of your future self. The level of faith in and commitment toward your future self is evidenced by everything you do and every thought you think. Once you are clear and committed, everything will filter through your goal, what psychologists call selective attention. You see what you're looking for. You see what you care about. What you focus on expands. The father of American psychology, William James, put it this way: "Millions of items of the outward order are present to my senses which never properly enter into my experience. Why? Because they have no interest for me. My experience is what I agree to attend to." Not only do you see what you're looking for, but you act toward what you most want and have decided will be yours. Faith is a principle of action and power. By faith, you can move mountains, put a man on the moon, make millions, and heal impossible maladies. To exercise this level of faith, fashion a vision of what you want. In the words of American author Florence Shinn, know you've already received and act accordingly. Know that whatever you want is already yours. Act as though everything you want can and will be yours. The truth is, we are all already doing this right now. The challenge is to hone the future we envision for ourselves. We're being driven by our views of the future. But why that particular future, the one you're currently committed to? What if you chose something else? What if you committed to what you truly want? When you commit 100% to what you want and know the end result is already yours, there will be a growing body of evidence about the future you're creating. You'll stop associating pain with the work and changes required for your goals. Instead, You'll associate pain with not making progress toward your dreams. You'll associate pain with the short-term dopamine hits that were once your escape. You'll be far more courageous. You'll develop mentorships and collaborations with like-minded people. Your mindsets, beliefs, and mental models will change, and you'll see the world far differently than your former self. Your results will improve. As leadership experts Jim Dethmer, Diana Chapman, and Kaylee Clemps state, commitment is a statement of what is. You can know what you're committed to by your results, not by what you say your commitments are. We are all committed. We are all producing results. The result is proof of a commitment. Your behavior will change because your identity changed. Your identity is what you're most committed to. Your identity is based on the vision you have for yourself. When you change your committed vision, your identity immediately changes, which in turn immediately changes the flow of your thoughts and behaviors. Yes, it will require courage to fully embrace your future self. Yes, it will sometimes take more time than you anticipated. Yes, there will be obstacles. But if you're committed, everything you face along the way will only better prepare you for what you truly want. Everything that comes at you will strengthen your resolve. You'll be able to turn any experience to your gain, moving you further and evolving you beyond what you could initially imagine. When you're 100% committed and have faith, you will find the way. There is always a way. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, when you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. Like Mr. Beast, you can create a future radically beyond anything you can currently imagine. Like me with my daughter Phoebe, you can immediately change old patterns today. The first step is to decide who your future self will be, and then be your future self now. Visit futureself.com to write a letter to your future self. Schedule the letter to return to you at certain time frames, just like Mr. Beast set his videos to be published at scheduled times. Part 1 of this audiobook breaks down the 7 biggest threats to your future self. Part 2 of this audiobook teaches you the 7 most powerful truths about your future self. Part 3 of this audiobook gives you the 7 specific steps to imagine, define, and be your future self now. This is the most straightforward and science-based guide to living powerfully in the present by creating the future you want. This audiobook brings together ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science to explain in simple terms how you can radically change your life. Are you ready? Let's begin. Cheers to your future self. Part 1. Future self threats. Threat number 1. Without hope in your future, your present loses meaning. Threat number 2. A reactive narrative about your past stunts your future. Threat number 3. Being unaware of your environment creates a random evolution. Threat number 4. Being disconnected to your future self leads to myopic decisions. Threat number 5. Urgent battles and small goals keep you stuck. Threat number 6. Not being in the arena is failing by default. And threat number 7. Success is often the catalyst for failure.
In progress.
Part 1. 7 threats to your future self. Hope is an essential part of the human condition. Without hope, we wither and perish. Seth Godin. Even at a young age, Viktor Frankl was intensely curious. Drawn to helping people, he wanted to be a psychiatrist before age 10. The middle child of 3 children, Viktor was born in Vienna, Austria on March 26, 1905, to deeply devout parents. His mother, Elsa Frankl, was a tender-hearted woman from Prague known for her piety. His father, Gabriel Frankl, worked his way from a lowly government stenographer to become the director of the Ministry of Social Service. In high school, Frankl studied psychology and began correspondence with Sigmund Freud, one of the world's most influential psychologists. Frankl sent Freud a paper he wrote, which led to its publication in the International Journal of Psychoanalysis. In 1925, a year after graduating college, Frankl preferred the thinking of Alfred Adler, another influential psychologist who worked with Freud before the two parted ways. Adler's theories focused on community and social reform and aimed at helping the individual overcome their own inferiority complexes to reach a stage of internal and external superiority. During that same year, Frankl published another article that explored the frontier between psychotherapy and philosophy, focusing on the importance of meaning and values. These topics became the central subject of his life's work. While Freud and Adler emphasized a person's past as the central aspect of their development, Frankl focused on a person's future as the central aspect of their psychology. Frankl's developing theory, which he called logotherapy, based on the Greek word logos for meaning, believed a person's development and quality of their mental health stemmed from having meanings to fulfill in their own future. While completing his doctorate in medicine in 1928 and 1929, Frankl organized cost-free counseling centers for teenagers in 7 cities, which resulted in a significant drop in the number of student suicides. Frankl gained international attention and received invitations to join influential psychologists and universities throughout Europe. Following graduation from medical school in 1931, Frankl served as lead doctor in charge of the ward for suicidal women at the psychiatric hospital at the Maria Theresienschlössl Neurological Hospital in Vienna. In 1937, at age 32, Frankl opened his own clinic. Months later, Germany invaded Austria and Frankl ran his psychiatric practice from his parents' home to avoid being caught by the Nazis. While the director of the neurological department at the Rothschild Hospital for Jewish Patients, he began work on his first book, The Doctor and the Soul. In this work, he laid out his revolutionary findings on the essential need for people to have a future purpose to be happy and healthy. In 1942, Frankl married Tilly Grosser, a nurse he had met while working at Rothschild Hospital. He wrote his book throughout that year, and Tilly became pregnant. Months after being married, Frankl and Tilly, as well as his parents, were arrested and brought to the concentration camp at Theresienstadt Terezin Camp in present-day Czech Republic. 6 months later, his father died of starvation and exhaustion. While in this horrific concentration camp, Frankl focused on the psychological crises pressing upon fellow prisoners and himself. In his efforts to combat the danger of suicide, Frankl worked alongside fellow inmate Regina Jonas, the world's first female rabbi, to help others find meaning in their suffering. In 1944, Frankl and Tilly, and shortly thereafter Frankl's 65-year-old mother, were transported to the extermination camp of Auschwitz-Birkenau. His mother was immediately murdered in the gas chamber, and Tilly was moved to a different camp in Bergen-Belsen. Devastated at being separated from Tilly, Frankl was transported by cattle car to the labor camps of Kaufering and Turkheim. While at Auschwitz, Frankl's manuscript of The Doctor and the Soul was discovered and destroyed. Aside from his family, this manuscript was his most prized possession and the only physical item he had brought with him in the initial chaos of his arrest. Frankl had kept the manuscript hidden in his clothes and protected it with his life. Within those pages were the perspectives he used to give hope and meaning to others in their sufferings. His utter resolve to rewrite and publish that book, as well as to be reunited with his wife and family members, kept Frankl from completely losing hope. He explained, "While I was in the concentration camp of Auschwitz, a manuscript of mine ready for publication was confiscated. Certainly, my deep desire to write this manuscript anew helped me to survive the rigors of the camps I was in." In 1945, Frankl contracted typhoid fever. To avoid fatal vascular collapse, he kept himself awake at night by reconstructing The Doctor and the Soul on slips of paper stolen from the camp office. At last, on April 27, 1945, U.S. troops liberated the concentration camp. Anxious to find Tilly and his family members, Frankl returned to Vienna, where he learned Tilly, his mother, brother, and brother's wife had all been murdered. Devastated, Frankl found support in friends and in his determination to rewrite his book. In 1946, Frankl became director of the Vienna Neurological Polyclinic, a position he held for 25 years. He completed The Doctor and the Soul, including an additional chapter on the psychology of the concentration camp. One of the first books published in post-war Vienna, the first edition sold out within days. Frankl spent 9 days dictating his experience in the concentration camp as his most famous work, Man's Search for Meaning. Throughout 1946, he gave public lectures explaining his central thoughts on meaning, resilience, and the importance of embracing life even in the face of great adversity. Frankl married again, published many books, and developed his therapies based on having a meaning toward one's future. Viktor Frankl was and is one of the most important people of the 20th century. Man's Search for Meaning sold tens of millions of copies, providing hope and healing to many people. In Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl repeatedly shared Friedrich Nietzsche's words, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." From Frankl's perspective, a clear future is essential in all circumstances and critical in trauma. The most fundamental threat to a person's future self is not the loss of freedom, but the absence of purpose and meaning. Frankl's story provides a startling illustration of how serious these threats can be. Lose the purpose for your future, and you die in the present. Threat number 1. Without hope in your future, your present loses meaning. Your vision of where or who you want to be is the greatest asset you have. Without having a goal, it's difficult to score. Paul Arden. While in the camps, Frankl could predict with extreme accuracy when a fellow inmate would die. Once purpose was extinguished in a fellow prisoner, Frankl watched as the glow of life left their eyes. No longer willing to share their small piece of daily bread, they disconnected from others, impulsively seeking short-term dopamine to numb themselves from the pain of the moment. The loss of purpose led to the death of the body. Without meaning in their suffering or hope to move forward, happiness was impossible. In the absence of purpose, the present experience became a prison to be escaped either by thoughts of the past, suicide, or another form of deterioration. Without a why to live for, every ounce of remaining life was used to escape the pain of the moment until they gasped for death like a drowning person gasps for air. In Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl wrote, "The prisoner who lost faith in the future, his future was doomed. With his loss of belief in the future, he also lost his spiritual hold. He let himself decline and become subject to mental and physical decay. Those who know how close the connection is between the state of mind of a man, his courage and hope, or lack of them, and the state of immunity of his body will understand that the sudden loss of hope and courage can have a deadly effect. Any attempt at fighting the camp's pathological influence on the prisoner by therapeutic methods had to aim at giving him inner strength by pointing out to him a future goal to which he could look forward. Instinctively, some of the prisoners attempted to find one of their own. It is a peculiarity of man that he can only live by looking to the future. Sub specie aeternitatis. And this is his salvation in the most difficult moments of his existence." Frankl's use of the statement, sub specie aeternitatis, is important. It's an expression describing what is universally and eternally true. Frankl, of all people, would not use that term lightly. This became the core tenet of Frankl's logotherapy. Human beings are driven by their views of their own future. Having developed his theory prior to his imprisonment, Frankl's experiences in the concentration camps only magnified and clarified this perspective. While a lack of purpose shortens life, having purpose can prolong and sustain life far beyond seemingly natural life expectancy. In the 18th century, the average life expectancy in America was less than 40 years. Yet most of America's founding fathers lived at least 20 years longer. Several, including Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams, lived into their 80s. That would be like 3 friends living to the age of 110 today, when 75 is the current life expectancy. Purpose provides an unparalleled life force, vibrancy, and zest. Frankl's purpose was to survive the camps so that he could rewrite and publish his books. He deeply wanted to be reunited with his wife and family. Those goals kept Frankl alive. His why enabled him to bear almost any how. According to Dr. Roy Baumeister and Dr. Kathleen Voss, preeminent psychologists on the psychology of meaning, present events draw meaning from their connection to future outcomes. Any human action or experience loses meaning when disconnected to future outcomes or consequences. Nothing exists in a vacuum. Why go to school or take classes if there is no end result? Why work out or challenge yourself if there's no diploma? Why make an emotional connection with another person if there is no relationship? Why do anything at all? The present is meaningless unless connected to the future. It is the future that dictates what decisions you opt for. This was the dilemma those in the concentration camps had to grapple with. Without hope toward a future, the present became incomprehensible. Without a future self, life no longer drew a person onward. They literally lost their minds. Frankl stated, "A man who let himself decline because he could not see any future goal found himself occupied with retrospective thoughts. Instead of taking the camp's difficulties as a test of their inner strength, they did not take their life seriously and despised it as something of no consequence. They preferred to close their eyes and to live in the past. Life for such people became meaningless." For Frankl, hope and purpose toward your future is the essential foundation to a meaningful and functional life. Without hope, people's psychology unravels and distorts. Individualistic and socially distant, those without a future stop finding ways to make life better. They become pure victims of external circumstances with no agency over their lives. As the proverb states, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." This perishing is an internal disintegration where personality and physical health abruptly reduce to nothing. For Frankl, having a purpose wasn't some vague hope or optimism, but a tangible and specific goal. In fact, he used the word goal most often to describe having a meaning to fulfill in your future. His description of having a purpose, meaning, or goal to accomplish squares exactly with modern research on the subject of hope. To the average person, hope may seem like mere wishing, but think for a minute what your life would be like without hope in your future. Without something specific to look and build toward, the present becomes utterly painful. In this frenetic nightmare, you feel there is no control or escape from a downward spiral. Without hope, motivation is impossible. You can't be motivated toward action or outcome with zero hope in its possibility. Without hope, grit is impossible. According to Dr. Angela Duckworth, grit is passion and perseverance toward long-term goals. From her standpoint, hope is the power pack that sustains you through the ups and downs of whatever you're pursuing. Researchers describe hope as the will and the way. Hope is the will because conscious choosing is involved. You decide a specific end, which you feel is worthwhile and important to create, pursue, or realize. You believe you have agency and that your decisions matter and that you can influence the outcomes of your life. Hope is the way because to have hope, you either see a way to realize your goal or are flexible enough to create a way. When hope exists, there is always a way. Hope does not consider the odds. Fundamentally, hope is three things. 1, a clear and specific goal. 2, agency thinking, which is the belief you have control over what you do, that your actions matter, and you can have an impact on the results in your life. And 3, pathways thinking. You see a path, have a path, or can create multiple paths from where you are now to your goal. Hope is more powerful than optimism, which is the general sense that the future will be better. Having a glimmer of hope is akin to having a deposit already banked and earning interest on your future purpose. But there is a much higher bar of hope. This degree requires commitment, it requires agency, it requires action. Like hope on steroids, this level is the will and the way. Psychologists have found distinct differences between high hope people and low hope people. The differences can be summed up by a quote from Dr. Charles Snyder, the world's leading expert and researcher on hope. High hope people find multiple pathways to reach their goals and willingly try new approaches. Low hope people, on the other hand, stick with one approach and do not try other avenues when stymied. Instead of using problem-focused thought, the low hope people often use counterproductive avoidance and disengagement thinking. Reinforced in the short term by their avoidance thoughts, low hope people continue their passivity. Unfortunately, they do not learn from past experiences. High hope people, however, use information about not reaching their goals as diagnostic feedback to search for other feasible approaches. High hope people commit 100% to a specific result. While their goal is unwavering, they remain highly flexible in their process or path to achieve their pursuit. Dr. Angela Duckworth distilled an explanation of human maturity. According to her research, people get grittier as they age. To be gritty, you've got to stick with something for a long time, overcoming setbacks and obstacles along the way. Someone who switches from goal to goal to goal cannot gain that vital grit. An athlete who switches from one sport to another isn't gritty. Grit is sticking to one thing for years or even decades. The second aspect of grit and maturity is just as important. Maturity comes by committing to a specific long-term goal and regularly switching out or upgrading pathways or systems to realize the overarching goal. To be a high-hope person, you commit to the goal, not the process. You don't get stuck in your current way of doing and thinking. Patiently, persistently, you adapt and find new and better ways to get where you want to go. As Frankl knew, hope is rooted in a clear purpose for your future. A high-hope person, like Frankl himself, remains committed 100% to a pursuit and 100% flexible around the path to achieve their goal. In the absence of a clear purpose for your life, your critical thinking to find ways deteriorates into finding excuses. After all, without hope, nothing really matters anyway. The first and most fundamental threat to your future self is not having hope in your future. Without hope, the present loses meaning. Without hope, you don't have clear goals or a sense of purpose for your life. Without hope, there is no way. Without hope, you decay. Threat number 2. A reactive narrative about your past stunts your future. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Mike Tyson. When I was 16 years old, my mom, 2 brothers, and I took a trip to visit a close friend, Michael Barker, in Sun Valley, Idaho. Halfway through the 5-hour evening drive, my mom grew tired. As a new driver, I eagerly offered to take the wheel. My mom lay in the back seat and quickly fell asleep. Within minutes, I encountered a construction site with flashing lights signaling me into the left lane. In the dark rain, barriers blocked construction on the right side of the road, and once the barriers ended, I returned to the right lane. Suddenly, the tires dropped a foot into dirt and rubble. At 60 miles per hour, I instinctively yanked the wheel to get back into the left lane. The car spun into the freeway median and flipped. My head crashed against the window and I was knocked unconscious. When I woke up, the car had landed on the opposite side of the freeway. I heard my brother Jacob crying in the back seat. "Ben," Trevor yelled, "Mom's not in the car." When the car flipped, Mom had been thrown and ragdolled 50 feet across the pavement. No child should see their parent in such a brutal state. I had no words. Mercifully, paramedics quickly arrived and we were taken by ambulance to the nearest hospital while Mom was life-flighted to an intensive unit. We didn't know if she was alive. While we waited for news in the hospital that night, a police officer came into our room. "Which one of you is Ben?" As I rose, I noticed a pile of hair on the pillow where I had lain. Noticing my surprise, the officer explained that my hair was falling out because I was in shock. He took me aside. "Look, this experience could ruin your entire life. I don't know what's going to happen with your mom, but right now, you need to make a choice about how you're going to handle this." He told me that the person who was supposed to work the night shift and check the construction zone had been a no-show. More than 150 yards of tumbled construction barriers should have been put back in place. This wasn't your fault. You're not to blame. He helped me take ownership of the situation for myself and my younger brothers who needed me. According to renowned trauma expert Dr. Peter Levine, trauma is not what happens to us, but what we hold inside in the absence of an empathetic witness. This police officer was my empathetic witness. He helped me process the shock and pain. He allowed me to cry. He helped me be proactive in how I framed this experience. Everyone has a plan until life punches them in the face. Whatever punches life gives to you, your past is just a story. Whatever story you choose for your past enormously impacts your present and your future. When you frame the past negatively, your goals become reactive to and based on your past. Your goals become short-term and avoidance-oriented, where you try escaping the pain of the present. When reactive, life happens to you rather than for you. When reactive, you feel the victim to what life has done to you. Emotional health happens when you contain both a positive past and an exciting future. Having a positive past depends very little on what events actually occurred. What happened to you doesn't matter as much as what story you decide to tell yourself about what happened. What happened to you doesn't matter as much as what emotions you feel about what happened. Your past is fundamentally a meaning. The story you create about past events dictates what your past means to your present and to your future self. We get to choose what story we attach. Grief expert and psychiatrist Gordon Livingston, MD, said, "The stories of our lives, far from being fixed narratives, are under constant revision." From a psychological standpoint, time is more holistic than sequential. We often think of time as the past that is behind us, the present that we're now living, and the future that is ahead. But psychologically, the past, present, and future exist together here and now. The past, said American novelist William Faulkner, is never dead. It's not even past. Despite the fact that our past narrative largely impacts our future goals and hopes, our present state is largely what determines those critical past narratives. As we age and mature, we naturally reconstruct memories with different perspectives. We can choose to intentionally reframe a memory in a positive mood, safe environment, and around trusted people. As psychologist Brent Slife states in Time and Psychological Explanation, we reinterpret or reconstruct our memory in light of what our mental set is in the present. In this sense, it is more accurate to say the present causes the meaning of the past than it is to say that the past causes the meaning of the present. Our memories are not stored and objective entities, but living parts of ourselves in the present. This is the reason our present moods and future goals so affect our memories. To have a bigger future, first have a better past. You can reframe and reshape your past narrative over and over. As you become more mature, you'll look on even your hardest moments with awe and joy. You'll love those moments for what they continue to teach you and for the meaning they've given to your life. Yes, life is hard. Pain is part of the process. Every single person, regardless of their socioeconomic status, race, or any other factor, will experience enormous amounts of emotional pain in their life. Disappointments, dashed dreams, unrealized expectations, something truly horrendous, or the harsh words and criticism too easily uttered. The trauma of our own mistakes. How we handle pain and confusion largely dictates who our future self becomes. If you allow the pain of life to swallow you, then your primary goals become to numb yourself through addictions and distractions because you're unwilling to face and transform those emotions. Funneled effectively, pain and hurt are incredibly powerful teachers. Your hardest moments can push you to truly learn from life and commit to something much better. Indeed, change often occurs when the pain of not changing becomes more unbearable than the pain of change. It may take years, even decades, to reframe an experience. Or the shift can happen in a heartbeat. The life-giving power is within you. With deliberate practice, you can develop the skill of positively reframing any past experience into a gain. With practice, you can get better and quicker at converting pain into growth and purpose. Your pain can fuel your purpose and lead you to help others. This is what psychologists call post-traumatic growth, and it occurs as people proactively face pain and choose to view it with gratitude and appreciation. You have the power to choose the framing of any experience and your narration of it as a positive. Can you feel genuinely glad you went through your hardest moments? Without those, you wouldn't know what you now know or be who you are. Strategic Coach co-founder Dan Sullivan and I wrote an entire book on this subject called The Gap and the Gain. The gap is when you measure yourself or your experiences against what you ideally thought they should be. When you go through something terrible and you frame the experience in the gap, then life is happening to you and your life is the byproduct of your experiences. You're the powerless victim of what happened. The gap leads to unhealthy comparisons and a lack of learning from your experiences. The gain happens when you transform every experience into personal growth. No matter what occurs, frame the experience as a gain. Proactively and consciously learn from your experiences and become better, not bitter, as a result. When you go through something terrible and you frame the experience in the gain, then life is happening for you. Rather than being the byproduct of your experiences are the byproduct of your conscious choosing. You determine what your experiences mean. You own your experiences, they don't own you. Rather than devaluing your experiences because they were painful, you increase their value by learning more and more from them. You also have gratitude for your experiences. In the gain about your past, your future self continually grows bigger and better as a result of every experience you have. When you're in the gain, you are more informed than your former self. You have greater perspective, purpose, and empathy. Your future self is better equipped because of your past. Following that horrific traffic accident, my mom lay in a coma for several weeks. Somehow, some way, she survived. She wore a body cast for more than a year. Her hair was cut to remove glass from her scalp. The vertebrae in her back were permanently altered, and 2 decades later, she continues to experience intense pain. While in a coma, my mom felt as though she had died. She told God she wanted to return to her body so she could raise her 3 sons. When she regained consciousness, she carried a profound sense of purpose to be alive. The nurses who worked with her were continually stunned by her positive attitude. Despite continual and excruciating pain, my mom expressed gratitude to be alive. For years, our family struggled to discuss the accident. Yet, my mom chooses to frame the event as a positive that solidified her purpose in life. She appreciates life's little things, which most people take for granted. No matter who you are, your status, or where you've been, my mom will embrace you. She embodies extreme compassion and care for every person. Far from bitter about what happened, she's better. Threat number 2 is having a reactive narrative about your past, which limits your future. Your past is a meaning. Your past is a story. How you frame that story will largely impact your future self.